Faith is not something that waits for the perfect mood. It does not arrive because the sky is clear or because everything feels comfortable. Faith is a decision you make when the evidence around you suggests otherwise. It is the conscious choice to believe beyond your emotions, beyond your circumstances, and beyond your current results. Most people treat faith like a feeling. They say they have faith when they feel inspired, motivated, or emotionally strong. But feelings are unstable. They change with the weather, with opinions, with temporary setbacks. If your faith is built on emotion, it will rise and fall with every challenge. A decision, however, stands firm even when emotions fluctuate. When you decide to have faith, you are declaring that your future will not be dictated by your present situation. You are choosing to trust a vision that hasn't materialized yet. That kind of belief requires strength because it means you continue moving forward even when progress is invisible. You act as though something greater is possible long before you can prove it. A decision carries weight. It creates commitment. When you decide to wake up early, you set an alarm. When you decide to change your health, you adjust your habits. In the same way, when you decide to walk by faith, your actions begin to align with what you believe. Your calendar shifts, your priorities shift, your conversations shift. Faith as a decision forces you to take responsibility. You can no longer blame circumstances, people, or timing. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to feel confident. Instead, you choose confidence, you choose courage, you choose trust. Even when doubt whispers, your decision speaks louder. There will be days when you don't feel strong, days when fear seems louder than belief. That is where the power of decision shows up, because you are not relying on inspiration. You are relying on commitment. And commitment does not disappear simply because emotions change. When faith becomes a decision, it transforms your mindset. You stop asking, what if this fails? And start asking, what must I do to make this work? You stop focusing on obstacles and begin focusing on preparation. You start building skills, sharpening discipline, and expanding your capacity because you've already decided success is possible. A feeling waits for evidence. A decision creates evidence. When you decide to believe in your potential, you begin to take steps that generate progress. That progress builds confidence. That confidence strengthens belief. And suddenly, what once felt uncertain begins to feel inevitable. Faith as a decision also protects you from external opinions. When others question your vision, their doubts do not shake you. When results are delayed, you do not quit, because your belief is not based on applause or immediate outcomes. It is anchored in a choice you made internally. The moment you understand that faith is a decision, you stop negotiating with your dreams. You stop postponing action until you feel ready. You move because you have chosen to move. You believe because you have chosen to believe. You persist because you have already decided that turning back is no longer an option. Everything in your life right now is a reflection of what you truly believe. Not what you say you believe, not what sounds good in conversation, but what you deeply accept as truth about yourself, your abilities, and your future. Because belief is not passive, it directs behavior, and behavior produces results. If someone believes they are capable, they approach challenges differently. They volunteer, they attempt, they prepare, they persist. But if someone believes they are limited, they hesitate, they procrastinate, they avoid, they shrink. The difference in results is not talent. It is belief expressed through behavior. Belief operates like a silent commander. It gives instructions beneath the surface. If you believe money is hard to earn, you will unconsciously avoid opportunities. If you believe success is reserved for other people, you won't take bold risks. Your hands will only build what your mind has already approved. Behavior is simply belief in motion. The person who believes their health matters wakes up to exercise even when it's inconvenient. The person who believes their time is valuable protects it from distractions. The person who believes growth is necessary invests in learning. Actions always reveal convictions. You cannot outperform your internal identity for long. If you see yourself as average, you will eventually act in alignment with that belief. If you see yourself as disciplined, you will behave accordingly. Identity drives habits. Habits create patterns. Patterns create outcomes. That's why two people can have the same opportunity and produce completely different results. One sees possibility. The other sees pressure. One prepares. The other complains the opportunity was neutral. The belief determined the behavior. The behavior determined the result. If you want different results, you must examine your beliefs, not your goals. Not your vision board, your beliefs. Because goals without aligned belief create frustration. You'll say you want success, but behave in ways that protect comfort. And comfort never creates transformation. When belief shifts, behavior follows naturally. You don't have to force discipline when you truly believe in your purpose. You don't have to beg for consistency when you see yourself as someone who finishes what they start. When belief changes, Effort becomes identity-driven instead of emotion-driven. Small daily actions compound over time. Reading 10 pages a day becomes 3, 6, and 50 pages in a year. Saving a small percentage consistently builds financial strength. Showing up 1 hour earlier each day builds an edge. These behaviors seem small, but they are powerful because they are fueled by belief. The results you desire are not waiting for luck. They are waiting for alignment. Align your belief with the future you want. Let that belief dictate your daily behavior, and allow those behaviors, repeated with intention, to produce the results that once felt out of reach. Facts tell you where you are. They measure your bank account, your current job title, your weight, your network, your skills. Facts are neutral observations of the present moment. They are snapshots in time. But too many people mistake a snapshot for a destiny. They confuse current conditions with permanent conclusions. Your current results are facts. If the account balance is low, that's a fact. If the business hasn't grown yet, that's a fact. If your circle is small, that's a fact. But facts only describe what exists right now. They do not have the authority to decide what can exist tomorrow unless you surrender that authority. Faith steps in where facts stop. Faith says, this is the present, but it is not the limit. It refuses to allow today's numbers to cancel tomorrow's possibilities. It understands that every successful person once had facts that looked unfavorable. Every strong body started with weakness. Every thriving company started with zero revenue. If you live only by facts, you will only repeat the present. You will make safe decisions based on what you see. You will shrink your goals to match your current evidence. You will move cautiously because you are trying to protect what already is instead of building what could be. Faith does not deny facts. It simply refuses to bow to them. It acknowledges reality without being imprisoned by it. It says, yes, this is where I stand, but this is not where I stay. That mindset changes everything because it allows vision to expand beyond visible limitations. History is full of people who refuse to let facts dictate their future. The fact may have been limited resources, limited education, or limited connections, but they operated from belief instead of fear. They made decisions based on possibility rather than probability, and those decisions reshape their circumstances. When faith designs your future, your actions shift. You invest in skills you don't fully need yet. You prepare for opportunities that haven't appeared. You speak about your vision with conviction even when results are still forming. Your preparation starts to exceed your current position because you're building for what's next. Facts often produce fear because they highlight what's missing. Faith produces strategy because it focuses on what's possible. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin asking, how can I use this? Instead of shrinking under pressure, you start building under pressure. The present may show struggle, but faith sees structure. The present may show delay, but faith sees development. The present may show scarcity, but faith sees capacity. What you choose to focus on determines how you respond, and how you respond determines what happens next. If you allow facts to be the final authority, you will remain confined to what already exists. But when you allow faith to design your future, you begin to create outcomes that once seemed unrealistic. You begin to act in alignment with a vision that stretches beyond your current evidence, and your life starts moving in the direction of what you believe is possible. Faith is not proven by what you say. It is proven by what you do. Anyone can declare belief when it costs nothing. Anyone can speak confidently when no risk is involved. But true faith shows up in movement. It shows up in decisions. It shows up in effort when comfort would be easier. If you say you believe in your potential but refuse to develop your skills, that is not faith. If you claim you trust the process but quit when progress is slow, that is not faith. True faith demands participation. It requires you to move your feet, not just your mouth. Belief without action is imagination. It feels good for a moment, but it produces nothing. Action is what gives belief substance. When you wake up early to work on your goal, that is faith. When you invest in learning instead of spending on distractions, that is faith. When you apply again after being rejected, that is faith. Action activates opportunity. Doors do not open for those who wait endlessly. They open for those who knock. When you act, even imperfectly, you create momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence strengthens belief. And that cycle begins with a single step. Many people are waiting to feel fully prepared before they act. But preparation often comes through action, not before it. You learn by doing. You grow by attempting. You refine by experiencing. Faith is stepping forward even when you don't have every answer. There will always be reasons to delay. Fear will suggest caution. Doubt will suggest postponement. But action silences both. When you move despite uncertainty, you train your mind to trust your capacity. You begin to see yourself as someone who executes, not just someone who hopes. True faith also requires consistency. One day of effort does not reflect conviction. Repeated action does. Showing up when you're tired, working when no one is watching, practicing when results are still small. That repetition turns belief into discipline. You cannot separate faith from risk. Every meaningful action carries uncertainty. Applying for the opportunity, starting the business, changing your routine, speaking up in the room, none of it guarantees success. But refusing to act guarantees stagnation. Faith chooses growth over comfort. Action does not eliminate fear, it overrides it. The first step may feel uncomfortable. The second step feels slightly easier. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes familiar. That transformation only happens because you were willing to move before you felt ready. If you truly believe something greater is available to you, your behavior must reflect it. Your schedule must reflect it. Your habits must reflect it. Faith that does not translate into effort remains invisible, but faith expressed through action reshapes your direction and begins to build the future you once only imagined. Real growth is rarely loud. It does not announce itself with applause or immediate recognition. Most of the time, it happens in quiet rooms, early mornings, late nights, and unseen decisions. While the world celebrates visible success, the real transformation is taking place where no one is watching. Silence is uncomfortable for many people because it removes validation. There are no likes, no comments, no external praise. But silence builds strength. When you continue working without applause, you develop internal confidence instead of external dependency. You stop performing for attention and start building for impact. Pressure is the other ingredient most people try to avoid. Yet pressure is not your enemy, it is your trainer. Muscles grow under resistance. Diamonds form under intense weight. Character is shaped when circumstances demand more from you than you think you can give. Pressure reveals capacity you didn't know you had. When everything feels easy, growth is minimal. Comfort maintains, it does not multiply. It is the deadlines, the setbacks, the criticism, and the uncertainty that stretch you. Stretching is uncomfortable, but without it, expansion never happens. The tension you feel is often proof that you are evolving. Silence also forces clarity. Without constant noise, you can hear your own thoughts. You begin to examine your habits, your mindset, your weaknesses. In quiet seasons, you sharpen skills, refine strategy, and build discipline. These private improvements eventually create public results. Pressure tests your commitment. It separates interest from dedication. Anyone can pursue a goal when conditions are favorable. But when obstacles appear, only those committed to growth continue forward. Pressure filters out distraction and exposes how serious you truly are about your vision. In silent seasons, it may feel like nothing is happening. Progress seems invisible. Results seem delayed. But just because growth is not visible does not mean it is absent. Roots grow underground before a tree ever breaks the surface. Strength is developed internally before it is displayed externally. Pressure also increases focus. When you know the cost of failure, your attention sharpens. You eliminate excuses. You manage time better. You become intentional about every decision. That level of focus accelerates development in ways comfort never could. The combination of silence and pressure builds resilience. You learn to trust yourself without constant reassurance. You learn to endure discomfort without quitting. You learn to adapt, to pivot, to adjust without losing momentum. That resilience becomes an asset that carries into every future challenge. When growth finally becomes visible, people often assume it happened overnight. They see the result, but not the resistance. They celebrate the outcome, but never witness the quiet preparation or the intense pressure that shaped it. What they don't see is that the strength, discipline, and maturity were forged long before success appeared. Every lasting transformation begins internally before it ever becomes visible externally. You cannot permanently change your life without first changing how you see yourself. Identity is the foundation of behavior, and behavior determines outcomes. If the foundation remains the same, the structure of your life will eventually return to what feels familiar. Most people try to change their results without changing their identity. They attempt new habits while still seeing themselves the old way. They say they want success, but deep down they still identify as someone who procrastinates, someone who quits, someone who plays small. That internal conflict sabotages progress. Your identity acts like a thermostat. No matter how high you temporarily raise your actions, if your identity is set lower, you will eventually return to that baseline. You might experience short bursts of motivation, but long-term consistency only happens when your self-image evolves. If you see yourself as disciplined, you will protect your time differently. If you see yourself as valuable, you will set stronger boundaries. If you see yourself as capable, you will attempt things that once intimidated you. Identity shapes standards, and standards shape decisions. Life change feels difficult when you focus only on external adjustments. Wake up earlier, work harder, save more, network more. But when your identity shifts, those actions become natural extensions of who you believe you are. Discipline stops feeling forced and starts feeling aligned. Identity change requires honesty. You must confront the labels you have accepted about yourself. Maybe you've told yourself you're not good with money, not confident in public speaking, not consistent enough to succeed. Those labels quietly guide your behavior. Challenging them is the first step toward transformation. You do not become successful by chasing success. You become successful by becoming the type of person who produces success. That means developing character traits before results appear, patience before profit, consistency before recognition, focus before freedom. Small wins help reinforce a new identity. When you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you build trust internally. When you complete a task you once avoided, you strengthen your self-image. Repeated evidence reshapes belief, and belief reshapes identity. As your identity grows, your tolerance for mediocrity decreases. You stop accepting excuses from yourself. You begin to expect more. Your environment may stay the same temporarily, but your internal standards rise. And once your standards rise, your actions begin to follow. The moment you truly see yourself differently, your decisions shift without force. You choose growth over comfort. You choose preparation over procrastination. You choose courage over fear. And those choices, repeated daily, begin to construct a life that matches the person you have decided to become.